You're on Glenelg Beach, South Australia, and it's the 26th of January 1966, Australia Day. The sun is already fierce by mid-morning, and the foreshore is filling up fast, families spreading towels, children chasing each other through the shallows, the smell of salt and sunscreen thick in the summer air. You watch 3 children walk down the steps from the tram. The eldest is a girl, 9 years old, fair-haired, carrying herself with the quiet confidence of someone trusted to look after the younger ones. Beside her, her 7-year-old sister, and trailing just behind, their 4-year-old brother, still a little unsteady on his feet in the sand. Their mother sent them off this morning from their home in Somerton Park. She expected them back for lunch. She trusted the tram, the beach, the ordinary logic of a summer day. By the time the afternoon shadows stretch long across the sand, those 3 children have not come home. Their mother waits by the door. Then she calls the neighbours. Then she calls the police. Jane, Anna, and Grant Beaumont are gone. And 58 years later, nobody has ever been charged with taking them. The Beaumont children lived with their parents, Jim and Nancy Beaumont, in a modest home in Somerton Park, a quiet suburb just south of Glenelg on Adelaide's coast. By all accounts, they were an ordinary, happy family. The children were well known in the neighbourhood. The beach was practically their backyard. Glenelg was only a short tram ride away, and the children had made the journey before, unsupervised, as was entirely unremarkable for the era. Jane, the eldest, was 9 years and 10 months old, responsible beyond her years, the kind of child parents trusted instinctively. Anna was 7. Grant was 4. On the morning of Australia Day, Nancy Beaumont gave Jane 10 shillings for the tram fare and told them to be home by midday for lunch. Adelaide in 1966 was the kind of city that still believed its children could walk to the beach alone. South Australia's capital had a reputation, perhaps naively, as a safe, conservative, orderly place. The 1960s were a time before the vocabulary of stranger danger had entered everyday life. Children roamed, parents trusted, and that trust, on this particular day, became the fault line through which a family fell apart. The tram journey from Somerton Park to Glenelg took only minutes. Witnesses later confirmed the children arrived at the beach that morning without incident. What happened after they arrived is where the certainty ends. Multiple witnesses reported seeing 3 children matching the Beaumont siblings' description at Glenelg Beach throughout the morning of the 26th. Crucially, several of those witnesses also reported seeing the children in the company of a tall, lean, fair-haired man, estimated to be in his late 20s to mid-30s. He appeared relaxed with the children. They appeared comfortable with him, too comfortable in the way that suggested they had spent time together before, or that he had spent considerable effort earning their trust that very morning. A local postman recalled seeing the man with the children near the beachfront. A woman at the beach reported watching the man and the children play together in the water. Another witness saw them walking together, apparently at ease, heading away from the main foreshore. Perhaps most striking of all, Jane Beaumont had been given 10 shillings for the tram. She was a careful girl, responsible, yet a local shop near the beach reported that a girl matching Jane's description had purchased food that morning, more food than 10 shillings could have bought. Somewhere, the children had come into more money. The man, it seemed, had bought them lunch. This detail haunts investigators to this day. It speaks to premeditation. It speaks to grooming. This was not an opportunistic abduction in the crude sense. This was someone who understood children, who knew how to make them feel safe, who used the ordinary rituals of a summer day, food, play, laughter at the waterline, to move them away from the crowd, away from the witnesses, away from the world. By midday, they were gone from every witness's sight. The tram ran back towards Somerton Park without them. Nancy Beaumont waited. Jim Beaumont came home from work. The hours moved. Evening arrived, and then came the phone call to the police, and a search that would grow from the local constabulary to a national obsession. South Australia Police launched a full investigation almost immediately, though the delay of those first crucial hours, the ordinary parental hope that the children had simply lost track of time, meant the beach had been vacated, the day's witnesses had dispersed, and the summer crowds had consumed whatever physical trace the children might have left. A composite sketch of the man witnesses described was released and circulated nationally. He was depicted as tall, approximately 6 feet, with a lean build, fair or sandy hair, and an athletic appearance. The image became one of the most reproduced faces in Australian crime history, staring out from newspapers, post office walls, and television screens for years. Thousands of tips flooded in. Not one produced a confirmed identification. In the years that followed, Dutch psychic Gerard Croiset visited Australia twice, in 1966 and again in 1969, claiming he could lead police to the children's remains. His involvement drew enormous public attention and significant media coverage, reflecting the desperation of an investigation that had yielded nothing. Excavations were conducted based on his guidance. Nothing was found. A number of suspects emerged over the decades. Arthur Stanley Brown, a Queensland man, was investigated seriously for many years. His physical description matched the composite, and he was known to frequent the Adelaide area. He was never charged and died in 1995 without ever being conclusively connected to the case. In 2013, significant attention turned to a warehouse site in suburban Adelaide, formerly owned by a man named Harry Phipps, a suspect identified through the work of investigators and the advocacy of his own son, Hayden Phipps, who came forward with deeply disturbing claims about his father's behaviour. Excavations at the site were undertaken by police. Again, nothing was found. The Beaumont case has been reviewed and reopened multiple times. It prompted legislative change in Australia, contributing to reforms around child protection and the introduction of formal missing persons procedures. But the children themselves have never been found. Their fate has never been confirmed. The man on the beach has never been named. As of the time of writing, the Beaumont case remains officially unsolved. South Australia Police have never closed the file. Major crimes detectives have revisited the investigation repeatedly, most recently in the 2010s following the Phipps allegations and subsequent excavations. Jim Beaumont passed away in 1995, never knowing what happened to his children. Nancy Beaumont, who endured decades of public scrutiny, grief, and the particular cruelty of false leads and media intrusion, passed away in 2019 at the age of 92. She never received answers. In her later years, she withdrew almost entirely from public life. The weight of uncertainty, it seemed, was simply too great to carry in the open. The case occupies a particular place in the Australian psyche. It is, for many Australians of a certain generation, the moment innocence left the room, the moment the beach stopped being simply the beach. Glenelg foreshore today is still busy on summer days, still full of children and families, and the unremarkable ordinary joy of a hot afternoon. But for those who know the story, there is something else there too. A question that has never been answered. 3 children who walked down to the water and did not come back. If you have any information relating to the disappearance of Jane, Anna, and Grant Beaumont, South Australia Police continue to receive and assess all relevant information. The case number remains open. The Beaumont children case is more than a cold case file. It is a wound in the national memory that is never properly closed, not for lack of effort, not for lack of grief, but because the man on the beach in January 1966 has so far kept his secret. Some cases are solved by evidence, some are solved by time, and some remain exactly as they are. A composite sketch on a wall, a family shattered beyond repair, and a summer day that refuses to end. Thank you for watching Outback Unsolved. If this story moved you, share it, because sometimes the only thing that breaks a case open after 60 years is the right person finally hearing the right details. Subscribe so you don't miss our next case.